So yesterday we started learning about seeds. Today we're going to learn a little more about seeds. Yesterday we learned from The Cat in the Hat, and today we're going to learn from our author Gail Gibbons, From Seed to Plant. So I'd like you to listen for the parts of a flower, flowers that come in different shapes and sizes. What is pollination? What is pollination and fertilization? And how do seeds get to the ground? These are all things that we'll learn from this book, From Seed to Plant, by Gail Gibbons. Most plants make seeds. A seed contains the beginning of a new plant. So there's some beautiful flowers that have seeds in them that were started from seeds. We have the tulip, and you might have some tulips up at your house right now. We have daisies, roses, sweet peas, buttercups. All those flowers help to make our world so beautiful in the spring and summertime. Seeds are different shapes, sizes, and colors. So there's a whole bunch of different seeds. All seeds grow into the same kind of plant that made them. So seeds come from a plant, and those seeds can make a new plant that's the same as the plant that they came from. So a sunflower seed would make a sunflower, and an acorn would make an oak tree, because acorns come from oak trees and sunflower seeds come from sunflowers. Many plants grow flowers. Flowers are where most seeds begin. At the bottom, a flower is made up of many parts. So here, let's learn a bit more about the parts of a flower. At the bottom of the pistil are the tiny egg cells called ovules. So here, these long strings here going down to the bottom are called pistils, and at the bottom there you can see those eggs. So remember, if those eggs don't have pollen on them, they can't grow a seed. They're not fertilized. But when the pollen from the top of the stigma gets onto these eggs at the bottom, a seed can grow. So the pollen is up here on top of the stigma. Bees or insects come along and get it on their bodies, and they travel to another flower and they drop it onto the next flower. It goes down this tube and it reaches these eggs. So the eggs and the ovules, the stigma, those are all parts of the plant or parts of the flower that help it to make new seeds and new plants. Before a seed can grow, a grain of pollen from the stamen must land on the stigma at the top of the pistil of a flower like itself. This is called pollination, or another name for it is fertilization. Pollination or fertilization. When the pollen gets to the eggs or the ovules and starts a seed. Pollination happens in different ways. Often the wind blows pollen from flower to flower, so it doesn't have to be an insect or a bee. Sometimes the wind blows the pollen from flower to flower. Bees, other insects, and hummingbirds help pollinate too. While they visit flowers for their sweet juice called nectar, pollen rubs onto their bodies. They then carry the pollen to another flower where it comes off onto its pistil. So there's the bees, hummingbirds, they stick their long beaks in there, and That's how another way that pollen can get from one flower to another, to the ovules or the eggs. So we have wind, we have hummingbirds, we have bees and other insects. If a pollen grain from a flower lands on the pistil of the same kind of flower, it grows a long tube through the pistil into the ovule, and this is the beginning of the seed. So up top here is the stigma, and this long tube is the pistil. Well, if pollen gets onto the stigma, the pollen grows a skinny tube through this big tube down to the eggs here at the bottom. If the pollen can get all the way down there, a new seed is started. The seeds grow inside the flower. Even as the flower begins to die, the seeds are becoming bigger. A fruit or a pod grows around the seeds. So fruit is the pod that grows around those seeds that have grown inside. The fruit or the pod protects the seeds. When the fruit or pod ripens, it opens up. The seeds are ready to become new plants. So here's a pod of peas. It opens up, and those pea seeds can be used to make a new plant. Here's a flower that's opened up, and inside the flower are tiny little seeds. Some seeds fall to the ground around the bottom of the plant where they will grow. So there's some seeds falling from this plant, and new plants will grow up around the bottom of these plants. Some pods or fruits open and the seeds pop out. Sometimes when birds eat berries, they drop the seeds. So here's some seeds popping out of these flowers when they open up. Here's some seeds that are berries, and the bird is eating those berries, and inside the berries are seeds. So when the bird gets rid of the seeds out of its body, or gets rid of the berries, then the seeds go into the ground. Other seeds fall into streams, ponds, rivers, or the ocean. There they travel on the water until they stick to the dirt along the shore. So if there's plants that are growing near the water, sometimes the seeds fall into the water carries those seeds a long way until they reach the shore, where they will grow along the shoreline. The wind scatters seeds. Some seeds have fluff on them that lets them float to the ground like tiny parachutes, like those dandelion fluffs. Others have wings that spin as they fall. So there's some different types of seeds. The winged ones and the dandelion fluff. Animals help scatter seeds too. They hide acorns and nuts in the ground. And so when they hide them in the ground, sometimes plants start from the nuts or the acorns. Some seeds have hooks that stick to the fur of animals and people's clothes, like the burrs. They're little hitchhikers. And later they'll drop off into the ground. These are all different ways that seeds can get into the ground and start a new plant. Wind, insects, animals, water, hitchhiking, squirrels, birds, they all help to deliver seeds to the ground in different ways. A flower bed or a vegetable garden is beautiful. I've been working on my flower beds here, and I'm going to start my garden, my vegetable garden soon, if we continue to get some nice weather. Seeds are planted to grow in the gardens. The seeds come in small envelopes or boxes. Directions explain how to plant the seeds and care for the plants. And you'll see here a flower garden. Those flowers are all growing from seeds. We have hyacinths and daisies, sunflowers, tulips. And here, this boy is planting a vegetable garden. I hope that sometime you get a chance to plant a vegetable garden with your parents or your grandparents. And here's some tomatoes. And we already mentioned bean seeds. Well, I've given you two different types of seeds. I mentioned the special climbing bean seeds, and I've also given you some tomato seeds. the instructions for how to plant these seeds and the activities that you're going to do with them are inside your packages of schoolwork to do at home with your parents. So I'd like you to look for those 2 different types of seeds, tomato seeds and bean seeds. The beginning of a plant is curled up inside each seed, and we learned about that yesterday. That little baby plant that's curled up inside is the embryo. Food is stored inside the seed too for that baby plant. And the seed has a seed coat to protect it. So the 3 different types of a seed. There's the embryo or the baby plant. Here's the cotyledon or the food. And around the outside of everything is the seed coat to protect it. A seed will not sprout until certain things happen. First, it must be in the soil. Then it needs rain or water to soak the seed and soften its seed coat. So if it has a hard seed around it, it needs that water to soften that seed so it can break open and the baby plant that's been growing inside can pop out. It needs soil, it needs water, and it needs sunshine. When the sun shines and warms up the ground, the seed coat breaks open and this baby seed inside starts to grow out. This is called germination. So pollination is when the pollen gets to the eggs and starts a seed. Germination is when the seed that's under the ground starts to grow and shoot out of the ground. Germination. A root grows down into the soil, the root system, and the stem eventually, after some time, starts to poke out on top of the soil, and that's called the shoot system. The root takes in water and minerals from the soil for food for that growing plant. So there's the root system underneath the ground. You can see those hairy roots growing under the baby plant, but it hasn't poked through the soil yet. When it pokes through the soil, the stem system starts to grow with the stem and the leaves. Up grows a shoot. Green leaves grow up from the shoot towards the sun. They're reaching for the sun so that they can make their food using photosynthesis. So photosynthesis needs 3 things: sun, water, and carbon dioxide. So the leaves can make their own food. That's why the leaves have to shoot for the sun, open up wide to receive that sun. The plant grows bigger and bigger. The leaves make food for the plant from the water and minerals from the soil, the sunlight and the air all around the plant. And what's in that air that the plant needs to make food? Carbon dioxide. So there it is, growing bigger and bigger. There's the sun. There's the roots getting the water and the minerals from the soil, and the air all around it is giving it carbon dioxide. That's why the leaves need to be opened up wide to receive the carbon dioxide and the sun. And that's why the stem needs to be long so it can take food and minerals and water up through the stem. And what did the Cat in the Hat tell us? Plants are the only living things that can make their own food. Finally, the plant is full grown. Buds on the plant open into flowers where new seeds will grow. So there's the seed that started it. There's the leaves and the stem. Now finally some flowers are growing, and inside those flowers are new seeds. When they open up and drop their seeds to the ground, a new plant can start. Many of the foods people eat are seeds, fruits, and pods. They are full of nutrition, vitamins, and minerals. And they are tasty too. There's all kinds of fruits and vegetables that are good for us that grow from seeds. And remember, when we learned about healthy eating, half of our plate is supposed to be filled up with fruits and vegetables. So God made a beautiful world for us where healthy food grows that we need to keep our bodies healthy. And this is the time of year where we start to see a lot of these healthy fruits and vegetables growing. And at the back of the book it tells us how to plant bean seeds. Number 1, find a clean glass jar, take a piece of black construction paper and roll it up. Number 2, slide the paper into the jar and fill the jar with water. Number 3, wedge the bean seeds between the black paper and the glass and put the jar in a warm place. Number 4, in a few days, the seeds will begin to sprout. Watch the roots grow down and the shoots grow up. Put dirt into a pot. Put the seeds into the dirt. Water them and watch them grow. So this part here is what you're going to do at home, and I've given you the materials to do it, where you put the bean seeds into the soil, you water them, and watch them grow. Have fun growing your own little tiny baby plants. Take care of them and watch them grow.